Okay, let's unpack this. If you glanced at crypto news today, you might notice something. Oh, a bit odd. You see the headlines about the market taking a hit, things looking generally red.
Yeah, a bit of a downturn shown.
But then, right next to that, you get stories about specific companies doing really well, raising big money, or, data points suggesting maybe things are about to boom.
It definitely feels like mixed signals, doesn't it? You get these completely different narratives side by side.
Yeah, it can be confusing.
Yeah.
And that's really our mission with this deep dive. We've gathered the sources you sent over.
Right.
We got articles looking at the big market picture, stuff from Glassnode, the Altcoin Season Index.
And then specific company news, too, like H100 Group or comments from the Bitwise CIO.
Exactly. Plus, updates on specific projects like BlockDAG and Hello Labs. So the plan is to dig into your reading stack here.
Pull out the key insights, try and make sense of it all.
See how these different threads, some pointing down, some up, actually weave together today.
Okay, sounds good. Where should we start?
Right. So let's set the scene first, that broader context from one of the sources about the market today. What did it say?
Well, that one highlighted a pretty broad downturn across the global crypto market, not just one or two things. It was quite widespread.
And they had specific numbers, didn't they? Let me see. Yeah, total market cap fell 1.68%, down to $3.39 trillion.
And trading volume dipped too, 5.27% to about $133.8 billion daily volume. So, yeah, a noticeable drop.
Okay, so volume down, overall value down. Did the source suggest why this might be happening today?
It did mention potential triggers. It pointed towards traditional markets, suggesting maybe some panic spilled over.
Oh, like what specifically?
It mentioned the DJT index, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ all sliding. The article framed those as, possible reasons for the crypto dip.
Interesting. So sort of linking crypto's mood to the wider financial world, at least for today's mood.
That's the angle that particular source took, yeah.
Yeah.
Implying some correlation there.
Okay, so that's the backdrop. A down day, maybe some nervousness coming from stocks.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets interesting with your sources.
Right, because then you have news that seems to go completely the other way.
Exactly, like the H100 group out of Sweden.
Yeah. While the whole market's reportedly down, this source highlights H100 Group soaring.
Soaring by 45%, according to the source. A huge jump.
And that jump came right after they finished a fundraising round. Pulled in $10.6 million.
Okay, and this is the crucial part, isn't it? The reason they raised that money, what did the source say?
The stated purpose, clear as day in the article, to expand their Bitcoin holdings.
Wow. Okay, so let's just pause on that. Market's generally down, Bitcoin's price likely contributing to that dip. And yet, here's a company successfully raising over $10 million with the explicit plan to buy more Bitcoin.
It really underscores that difference, doesn't it? Between the short-term price action and maybe longer-term strategic thinking.
Yeah, I mean, raising $10.6 million to buy BTC isn't a spur-of-the-moment reaction to a daily price chart.
No, it suggests they have conviction based on a bigger picture, a longer time frame, which kind of contrasts sharply with the general market mood today.
It definitely puts the daily swings into perspective. And speaking of other perspectives, another source you shared looks beyond just the price. It digs into analytical data for Bitcoin.
Ah, yeah, the Glassnode data. That article was focused on on-chain metrics.
On-chain.
Oh.
So looking at what's actually happening on the Bitcoin blockchain itself.
Exactly. Things like, how many transactions are happening, how active the network is, are people holding their coins or moving them around, that sort of stuff.
So looking under the hood, basically, not just the trading screen. Yeah. And what did that analysis suggest, according to the source?
Well, according to that article, the signals from that on-chain activity are potentially pointing towards an explosive surge for Bitcoin's price.
An explosive surge. That's quite a contrast to today's market dip.
It is. The analysis based on that blockchain activity presents this potentially very bullish outlook, despite the red we see today.
So the daily price is down, maybe because of those external factors we mentioned.
Right.
But the actual activity on the network itself, the fundamentals, according to this data, might be building up steam for a significant move upwards.
It definitely makes you think, doesn't it? Which signal carries more weight long-term? The daily noise or the underlying network health metrics?
Yeah, good question. And there's another layer supporting this potentially more optimistic view. Again, from your sources, it's about corporate interest.
Right. The commentary from the Bitwise CIO, Matt Hugan, this was from a June 10th interview mentioned in one article.
And his main point was?
His core message was pretty clear. Corporate Bitcoin adoption is really just getting started. He thinks we're still in the very early innings.
Just beginning. Why does he think that? Did the source give a reason?
Yeah, he argued that traditional cash management strategies, just holding cash in low-yield accounts, are becoming less attractive for companies.
Ah, so companies are starting to look for alternatives for their treasury reserves.
That's the idea. He sees growing interest from corporations looking at Bitcoin as a potential solution, a different way to manage their assets.
Which could mean a significant ongoing source of demand for Bitcoin if that trend continues.
Potentially, yeah. It connects what we saw with H100 Group raising money specifically for Bitcoin to this broader idea. It suggests H100 might not be an isolated case, but part of a larger developing trend.
Okay, so we have the market dip, but then these counterpoints for Bitcoin. A specific company buying more, on-chain data looking bullish, and this idea of growing corporate interest. Let's broaden out now, though. What about altcoins? Your sources touched on that too.
They did. One article dives right into that question. Is altcoin season 2025 just around the corner?
Altcoin season, that's when altcoins generally start outperforming Bitcoin, right?
Exactly. And this article uses the altcoin season index to try and gauge things.
Okay, and how does that index work, according to the source?
It basically tracks the percentage of major altcoins that have done better than Bitcoin over the last 90 days. It's a way to measure if capital is flowing more towards alts relative to Bitcoin.
So what's the index suggesting now, based on that article?
The piece notes that key indicators from this index are currently signaling a potential breakout.
A potential breakout. So not saying altcoin season is definitely here today.
No, not definitively. More like the underlying conditions, the metrics, the index tracks are looking more favorable, suggesting altcoins might start showing stronger relative performance soon.
Interesting. So even with the market down today, the analytics suggest potential for alts to gain ground on Bitcoin later. Did the sources mention any specific altcoins getting attention?
Yeah, a couple were highlighted. BlockDAG was one.
BlockDAG, okay.
Yeah.
What did the source say about it?
It emphasized their huge fundraising, a $298 million raise. That's a really significant amount for one project.
$298 million. Wow. Any other details? Price? Potential?
The source mentioned its current price at 0.0018 and included claims of a potential 2,678% ROI. It also called it a top pick and compared its potential to big moves we saw historically from coins like XLM and AVX.
Okay, quite bullish on that one in the source material. What was the other altcoin mentioned?
Hello Labs. The focus there was on some major upgrades they've made to their token economy.
Token economy upgrades. Like what?
They introduced something called a burn and earn model.
Burn and earn. Okay, so presumably involves burning some tokens, removing them from supply.
Likely to create deflationary pressure.
And also ways for people to earn tokens, trying to boost utility or demand.
That seems to be the goal. The article mentions specific upgrades like a deflationary structure and a multi-chain bridge for better connectivity.
And the stated aim behind all this.
According to the source, it's all about strengthening the long-term utility and value proposition of their Hello token within its ecosystem. So concrete steps being taken.
Got it. So BlockDAG with its massive raise and ROI claims, and Hello Labs focusing on tokenomics and utility.
Right. Examples of specific altcoin developments happening alongside the broader market trends.
Okay, wow. So let's try and pull this all together from the sources you provided. We started with a broad market dip today, maybe linked to jitters in traditional finance.
Yeah, that was the initial picture.
But layered on top of that, we see a company, H100, raising millions specifically to buy more Bitcoin.
A direct countersignal to the daily price dip.
Then we have Glassnode's on-chain data suggesting underlying strength and a potential explosive surge for Bitcoin.
Looking beyond the surface price.
Plus, commentary suggesting corporate interest in Bitcoin is just starting to ramp up as treasury strategies evolve.
Another potential long-term demand driver.
And then, shifting to altcoins, we see indicators hinting at a potential altcoin season breakout relative to Bitcoin.
Even if it's not happening today, the signs are potentially there.
With specific projects like BlockDAG pulling in huge funding and Hello Labs making strategic token upgrades.
It really paints a complex, multi-layered picture, doesn't it? Far from just everything's down.
Absolutely. By digging into your specific sources here, you can see these different narratives playing out simultaneously. It's not one single story.
It shows how the headline price is just one facet of what's going on in the crypto space. There are all these other forces and trends at work underneath.
Definitely. And that leads to a really interesting question to chew on, based purely on what these sources presented. Given today's market dip, how much weight should you actually place on it versus these other signals.
Mm-hmm.
The positive long-term indicators from Glassnode, the corporate interest narrative, H100's actions, the altcoin index signals.
Yeah, does the short-term dip, maybe driven by external panic, overshadow what might be more fundamental bullish trends highlighted in these sources?
Or do all these conflicting signals just tell us we're in a really complex, uncertain period right now where, both big gains and further dips are genuinely possible?
It really encourages you to keep looking critically at the information, doesn't it? See how these different pieces fit together, or maybe how they don't, as things continue to unfold.